Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is I, Kenneth the K-Rock Klein, and guys, we have officially made it to 60 episodes of Krocking, Locking, and Dropping with the K-Rock. That's right, folks. I gotta tell you what, I am really excited to have made this milestone, and boy, oh boy, it is, without question, a great achievement for me. I didn't even think I was going to get to 60, but wow. We are here, and folks, we got some stuff that we need to talk about here. And on this edition, which let me first off say that you can subscribe to this podcast at Podbean or Spotify, and I also will be putting this on my YouTube channel at KWCLINE91. So that's where I put up my podcast, where basically I give my intel on thoughts that things that are going on at this moment. But I gotta tell you what, folks, it's not really going to be much to talk about this edition, although I am going to be real 100% here, and that is, of course, this past series between the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers, arguably two of the best teams in baseball right now. Bit of a rivalry there for reasons which we will not get into. Man, I have to be real honest. I was not surprised by what transpired down in Tinseltown. And I tell you what, I am still surprised, stunned, and in disbelief, but very happy about that. Don't get me wrong. I am very happy about this. And so, without question, this was probably the best series by the Houston Astros to this point of the season. We're going to talk about that. Where does that necessarily put them as far as contenders to win it all again for this year or so? And since we're going to be talking about a little baseball this weekend, I'm going to be presenting my top 5 storylines to keep an eye on for as we approach the All-Star break and the start of the second half of the season, which has been a very interesting season, considering that you look at everything that's going on, particularly in the American League. I mean, there's a wide mess of teams as well. Obviously, you have your 2 teams that are standing out, but then you look at what's happening in the American League East. That's a mess there. Then the AL Central. I mean, obviously, it's becoming a one-team race at the moment, but, I mean, just looking at to see what teams are going to stand out as well. And so I'm going to be giving out my top 5 picks of storylines to keep an eye out for in as far as the second half of the Major League Baseball season is concerned. But first, folks, before we get into all of that, I do want to personally address the tragic event that has taken place down in the Texas Hill Country. As we all know, a massive flood has struck in a series of campers down there. There were at least a total of 100 victims down there. 70 people lost their lives, and 41 are still unaccounted for, and they're missing in a tragic flash flooding event. Supposedly overnight, the weather down there was, it just got really worse. I mean, it was raining, and then the floodwaters actually increased from like 3 feet of water to 29 feet of water in a 45-minute radius, and that is just insane. And, it's really sad when you think about it, because unfortunately, among those that have been lost and are still unaccounted for and missing were a group of campers at Camp Mystic, which is an all-female Christian camp, and they're still missing some some campers that are missing there. And I think last time I checked, there were at least 11 of them that were missing, and it's a really tragic situation down there. And all I can really do is express my thoughts and prayers and condolences to the victims and their families. I mean, I really hate that for them. I mean, it's a 4th of July weekend, and then all of a sudden we get reminded about life. I don't know what else to say, folks. I mean, it's a really sad situation. I'm really hoping that they can find at least all the campers that were missing there, and not just for the ones at Camp Mystic, but also the campers that were not affiliated with this camp, but were just there around the time of this tragic event. from what I can read, I mean, supposedly this happened overnight when most everyone was just sleeping. And, you know, at that particular point, there's going to be people that are talking about, okay, when is there going to be a flood warning? Should there be some kind of, warnings and everything? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that rescuers are trying everything they can to find these campers and everything. And it's a real tragic situation. And, I'm heartbroken about this. I mean, I don't personally know. I haven't been, I don't know the camp that well. I mean, obviously, I know some friends that know people that go to that camp. And that camp supposedly has been around for close to 100 years. Like, it was originally built since in 1926. And then, it's next year was supposed to be the 100th anniversary of that camp. So, yeah, it's really sad. It's very tragic. And, there's definitely some fun relief funds that are being sent out. You look around. If you go to one particular Instagram website that I'm seeing, Dallas Sites 101, they posted out an Instagram post suggesting of ways that y'all can help donate to the funds. And, they have, a website where you can go to donate. And then there's also a GoFundMe as well. And, just do what you can. Like, do what you can. Pray for the victims and the families who are in search of their loved ones, or maybe in grief of finding out of a loved one's tragic passing. But also, be with, find someone, hug them, show support and show love for them as well, because this is the kind of stuff that I feel like should bring us all together. No matter what our political affiliations are, no matter what we believe, no matter how much, we might not like certain things about the other person, life is the most precious gift that we got. And unfortunately, we may not be on Earth for quite a long time. And it's one of those, it's one of those sad things, because, we're talking about, people ranging from adults to little kids, wiped away in this tragic event. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just heartbreaking. It's sad. And all I can really do is just pray for the victims and their families, and hope they can be able to find some peace, because, God's got a plan for all of us. I don't know what that plan is for myself or for anybody else, but I know that He has a plan for everyone here. We just got to have to put our faith and trust in Him, and that's really all we can do. And it's not easy, because, again, these are families that have to go through this struggle right now, but we just got to be supportive of everybody, be supportive of them, even if we don't know them personally. So it's a real sad time, a real tragic day, and hopefully there's peace that comes from this. So that's pretty much all I can say with regards to that. So again, thoughts and prayers to the people down in Texas Hill Country, in Kerrville, and in Hunt, Texas, and then to the camp as well. Yeah, it's really sad when you really think about that. So that's pretty much all I got to say on that. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Astros-Dodgers series. How does this series victory by Houston make a statement as far as where they stand among the contenders to win it all this year? And what does this mean for the Dodgers? Are they in serious trouble? Are they not really the best team in all of baseball? Who knows? And then, so we're going to be talking about all that when we come back. Stay tuned. All right, folks. So, Independence Day weekend, bittersweet, considering all the events that have taken place, and our main focus is what's going on down in the Texas Hill Country, and I spoke briefly about that in the last segment. But right now, we need to talk about a series that, well, let's just say, I think surprised everybody, including myself. Now, obviously, it's no secret that the Astros and Dodgers have a rivalry for reasons which I'm not going to get too involved in, because let's be real, even so, I don't think it would have made a difference anyways. I still think Houston would have won it all in that World Series back in 2017, regardless. But Dodger fans don't feel it that way. And you know what? They can feel that way all they want. But you know what? What happened this series, what happened this weekend, has really brought the whole baseball world to a surprise. Now, here's the story of what's been going on lately. The Los Angeles Dodgers are clearly head and shoulders above everyone else in the National League, at least in the National League. I mean, when you look at the National League standings as far, I mean, the Dodgers 56-35, that after today, that's a 7.5 game lead over the San Diego Padres, who most people thought would challenge the Dodgers to the West, but that hasn't proven to be the case at this point. Then you got the Chicago Cubs 53-36, and then the Phillies are 53-37, but they're currently in a tight battle in the NL East with the New York Mets, who trail them by a game and a half. But as it stands right now, the Dodgers are clearly the best team in the National League. Meanwhile, you have the Houston Astros, who really have continued to surprise a lot of people because, yeah, they're still in first place in the American League West. Let's be real. This is their division. Until somebody else wins the division and knocks them off, this will be the Houston Astros division. Now, I think most people thought that the Astros were going to regress because, well, they don't have Kyle Tucker, they don't have Alex Bregman, their pitching staff is kind of pretty young considering that they have a couple of guys that are coming back from that are supposed to be coming back from Tommy John surgeries and all that to make their first appearances of the season. And most of the pitching staff, with the exception of Framber Valdez and right now Hunter Brown, it was going to be a very tough year for the Astros. Plus, you know, a new look offense and everything. Most people thought that the Astros really had no reason to be competing in the AL West this year, at least. Maybe take a year off, you know, just to kind of get your guys developing and all that. And maybe within the next couple of years, you're back in contention. And who knows what goes on from there. Well, that hasn't quite worked out that way, folks. Because the Houston Astros are not only in first place of the AL West, but they lead the division by 7 games. Which is kind of crazy considering that, you know, Seattle, they played the Pirates and they swept Pittsburgh. And you would think that if Pittsburgh would have helped out a bit, they could have maybe dropped Seattle down a game, but that's not the case. The Astros still lead the AL West by 7 games to this point, and the way they're playing right now, I mean, they have so many injuries. They have more injuries this season than any other team to this point. I think the number was 15. I mean, Yordan Alvarez is out because of an issue with his hand, and you know, was it misdiagnosed by the medical staff? Probably. I don't think that was their intention, but they didn't handle it that way that they should have. They've gotten a little bit better with their medical reports, I will say that. So I got to give a shout out to the medical staff for the Astros, but they've gotten better with their reporting the injuries and everything. But Yordan's been out with an injury. Jeremy Pena, who has been off to his best start in this season, is out with 10 games because of an injury to the ribs, which unfortunately I was at that game that he got hit by the pitch against the Cubs, and that's what led him to being out for 10 days to this point. You have other pitchers that are out for the season with Tommy John surgery, and, you know, guys are going left and right on the injured reserve or the IL and then coming back in as well. I mean, clearly the Astros are not at 100% strength. Let's be realistic here. I would say that they are probably at best 60% at healthy because of the absences, but yet they're still finding ways to win games. And the crazy thing about it is the Astros, they beat the Cubs, who are currently in first place in the National League Central. They beat the Phillies, who are currently in first place in the NL East. They swept the Phillies, of course. That was because of great pitching. And earlier this season, they beat the New York Mets, but that was that was early in the season, but that's still a remarkable achievement. So going into this series, the Astros had just come off a pretty disappointing loss to the Rockies, even though they did take the series from Colorado in the first 2 games. So I think everyone's thinking going into the series against the Dodgers, well, here's the reality of the situation. The Astros obviously are not at 100%. The Dodgers are clearly head and shoulders above everyone else to this point, maybe with the exception of the Detroit Tigers, but that's a story for another day. The Dodgers clearly have home field for this series. They got the best player. They're the defending champions. They may have some players that are out with injuries themselves, but it's still the Dodgers, no matter what you say. They're still a great team. And obviously, with the way their fans are down there, I don't want to be very disrespectful to them, but certainly they have some bitter feelings towards the team. But the fact is, it was going to be a tough series when you think about it, because you're going to go with Lance McCullers, who got a rough start against the Cubs his last time out, and that was going to be a bit of a challenge. But then you also have, you had Framber Valdez going his second game, but he was going to go up against Shohei Ohtani, who, despite being limited to 2 innings and a pitch count, because he was recovering from an injury himself, it was going to be a bit of a challenge. And then the third game, well, whatever happens, happens. So going into that series, I'm thinking to myself, well, I would think that the Astros, if they don't win the series, that's okay. As long as we don't, get ourselves in a situation where we might be in for a tight AL West race, which could potentially happen later on. But if we lose the series, so be it. But if we take 1 out of 3 games, I'll be fine with that. So I just was thinking that the Astros, at some point, they're going to run into a situation where they're going to lose another series. They haven't been doing that lately. They've won 11 series in a row prior to this. That just shows you what a great ball club they've been lately. They've won 23 of their last 31 games prior to the series, and so everyone's thinking, well, this is going to be a very tough one. Tough series for the Astros, and I thought for sure it was probably going to be a case where they were going to take 1 out of 3, and that would have been okay with that. But man, how wrong was I? Game 1, the worst defeat in the history of Dodger Stadium by the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. 18-1. The Astros killed the Dodgers, ruined their Independence Day celebration, I might add. There were so many fans at Dodger Stadium still at the game when they were getting beaten badly. Obviously, they were waiting for the fireworks show, which I'm sure that was probably the only highlight for them. But, man, 18-1. And the fact is, it started off pretty tight. It was 2-1 after 3 innings, but then, or actually 2-1 after 2 innings, but man, the Astros just really started to catch fire. Christian Walker, a guy who has been a killer for the Dodgers. He's owned the Dodgers lately, because you got to remember, he played with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they made it to a World Series 2 years ago. Christian Walker, of course, had a stretch where he had homered against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium in 6 consecutive games. He homered in that game as well. And then, of course, Jose Altuve, everyone's favorite player to love down there. He homers twice, and the fans, they're amazed. They're like, ooh, wow, Altuve, what a great player. Wow, this is so crazy. But, man, we're supposed to hate this guy. We're supposed to boo him. And, they're booing him, but it's almost like the guy just homered twice off you. So, the Astros really took it to the Dodgers in Game 1. Of course, Lance McCullers Jr. he pitched well. He was able to have a bounce-back game, and he pitched well. For the 6 innings he pitched in, and the Astros, of course, took the first game, final score of 18-1. And, it's almost like that was the one game I didn't think we were going to get, just because, McCullers, he wasn't really at his full self, but I tend to forget that he actually had some great success against the Dodgers. I think he had a under 2 ERA against them in his last few starts. And, he pitched he pitched brilliantly. He was just outstanding. And, of course, the bullpen taking care of the rest, even though we didn't see a closer situation. So that was the first game, and I'm thinking, okay, we won that game. Now, obviously, Game 2 is going to be a challenge because they're going to start Shohei Ohtani, who's going to go 2 innings. But if Shohei Ohtani was at full strength, he probably would have been, he would have gone on longer, and that would have been a bigger challenge for sure. So they start Ohtani, and obviously it was a the game was on Fox Sports, national televised game. They're going to be raving and loving Shohei Ohtani, which, let me be honest here. I love Shohei Ohtani. I think he's a great player. He's great for the game of baseball. A two-way player, which is something that you don't normally see in baseball. I think without question he's the best player. A great guy. And I love the guy, But obviously, there may come a point where it'd be a little too much. But you know what? It is what it is. He's the best player in the game right now. So you knew he was going to start. And, obviously for the Astros, they had to kind of keep this game pretty close while he was there before they turned to the next pitcher and everything. And Shohei Ohtani gave up 1 hit, but he pitched well in 2 innings. He struck out the side in the second inning, and the Dodgers took a 2-0 lead. So you're thinking, okay, that's going to be, it is what it is. But once the Dodgers turned to their second pitcher, that's when the Astros really started catching fire. I mean, Zach Short, who was called up, got a double down the line to score 2 runs. He then comes in to score on an error, and then Christian Walker singles him in. So it was 4-2. Then Yainer Diaz with a solo shot in the 4th made it 5-2. But Framber Valdez, who did pitch well, he did give up a couple of home runs with his curveball, so he was leading 5-4. Then came a critical point in the 6th inning where the Dodgers had like a runner on base, and Ohtani was coming up. Valdez was already at 101 pitches. He needed 1 out to get out of the 6th inning. Joe Espada, had a tough decision to make. Do I go to the bullpen here, or do I leave Valdez in to face off against Ohtani? He chose to leave Valdez in, and the gamble paid off. Ohtani grounded out into a fielder's choice. The Astros then added another run in the 8th inning when Altuve, who was hitless to that point, led off with a triple, comes in to score on a Victor Caratini sacrifice fly. By the way, Caratini with a big grand slam in the first game had been hitting the ball pretty well, but certainly a big RBI there to make it 6-4. Then the Dodgers threatened in the 8th inning, and Espada with 2 outs went to his closer to try to get a 4-out save because he knew that Ohtani was coming up was on deck at that moment. Hader was able to get the number 9 hitter out, and then started the bottom of the 9th inning, giving up a leadoff single by Shohei Ohtani, but he was able to retire the next 3 Dodger hitters in order. So, Houston taking the second game of that series, and man, winning 1 game was one thing, but taking 2 from the Dodgers, that was crazy. And especially given the way that they've been taking series against some playoff contending teams that are in first place in the division. That's insane. That's amazing. So then we go to Game 3, which happened today as of this podcast, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to start Ryan Gusto. It's probably going to be the game where, the Dodgers are probably going to avoid being swept, and it's okay. I mean, the Astros got the series. That's all that matters, but hopefully we can still, keep our 7-game lead with Seattle, although that was going to be pretty tough because Seattle, they found a way to beat Paul Skeens. And Paul Skeens, I mean, he's a great pitcher, but he's just had some bad luck because the Pirates are not helping him out by scoring. I feel like Paul Skeens might be the best pitcher in baseball with a record of under, 5 wins or so. I mean, which is really sad because I feel like Skeens has a lot to offer. The Pirates just aren't helping him out. But yeah, that was disappointing to see. But anyways, back to the Astros game. The Astros get down 1-0 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. But then they tie it up in the top of the 3rd inning. A sacrifice fly from Altuve, who was able to get the tying run in. Then they took the lead in the top of the 6th inning, I believe, or actually it was the top of the 5th. A bases loaded walk. The Astros went up 2-1. They were able to keep that 2-1 lead into the top of the 8th inning, and that's when the Astros tacked on a few insurance runs, back-to-back homers from Christian Walker and Yainer Diaz, and then, of course, Altuve with the big solo shot in the top of the ninth inning. Final score, 5-1. Well, what was the final score of Game 7 in the 2017 World Series again in Dodger Stadium? Yeah, I think we all remember that. Anyway, final score, 5-1. I mean, folks, I got to tell you what. That, to me, was probably the most impressive three-game series. Now, I thought the series sweep against the Phillies was impressive, considering that the pitching for the Astros was tremendous, and at that time, the Phillies were the hottest team in all of baseball. And yeah, the Astros were able to outscore the Phillies like 5-1 in the three games, which shows you how tight it was. But man, 29-6. That was the run totals for both teams in the series. 29-6. The Astros dominating the Dodgers. It wasn't even a sweep. It was a beatdown of epic beatdowns. And right now, folks, the Astros are making it known that they're still out there, they're still dangerous, and they're still inevitable. I mean, they say inevitable because clearly you don't want to see the Astros. Like, fans that really don't like this team, they don't want to see them around. Like, no, not these guys again. Come on now. Like, that's not fair. They're on everyone's minds. That's why you're seeing a lot of these people that are just flipping out in disappointment. I mean, national media, opposing media members, Oral Hershiser. I mean, look, I respect the guy, Cy Young Award winner, great season that he had in '88 for the Dodgers to win a championship, but come on, still bitter. I guess that's what happens when you've been in LA far too many times. So, that's all I got to say. He really, he didn't earn my respect when he accused the Astros of cheating once again. But look, I don't think it would have made a difference anyways in that series. And at that time when he made those comments in Game 1, the Astros were up 4-1. Like, they hadn't even scored the other 14 runs yet, dude. And you're upset over something? Jeez Louise. Yeah, he's getting blasted by social media and media members down in Houston. I mean, look, we probably need to be a little fair and not get too aggressive on that. But you know what? He should know better. That's all I have to say with regards to that. So now that brings us to the question that I think we need to ask ourselves here. Where does this put the Astros as far as contenders to win it all? Is this a team that you can honestly sit here right now and say they have what it takes to win a championship? I mean, every single season, until otherwise said, this team is still a threat to win. They're still dangerous. They're still a threat. They may not be the best team on paper right now, but with how they're playing games, you have to think that they're still a dangerous team. You have to think that even if this team is full of AAA guys or guys you picked up off the streets and everything, even with all the injuries that they're dealing with, they're still finding ways to win games. And that's what's going to be scaring all these teams. I think the Astros right now are a team that can win, but I would not be 100% convinced at this point that they would be the favorites to win it all. And it's hard for me to say because I'm a fan of this team. I love this team. But I have to be a little bit honest. I think the Astros right now have a case to be the third best team. The question, though, I have is how can they do against Detroit, a team that swept them in a wild card series the previous year? How can I be convinced that they can beat out on these other teams that they beat in the regular season, but by this point will have made some big acquisitions to bolster their roster for a championship run in October? And on top of that, what's the situation with Yordan Alvarez? I mean, right now, the way it's being worded out, there was a positive outlook I mean, Alvarez was placed on a 60-day IL. Now, normally at this rate, when you see 60-day IL, you're thinking, "Oh no, season's over, this and that." But the reason why they did that to put him on there was to make some more room for players that they're adding up to this roster. But clearly, Yordan Alvarez's health is the big concern. He's been out for ever since May. He hasn't swung a bat in a while. He has tried to swing his bat, but then had that setback with more pain in his hand. And there was a picture of him on an airplane where he was wearing not necessarily a cast, but like a brace just to protect from contact. And, some fan thought that he said, well, he was going to be out for 6 weeks because he broke like part of his bone and everything. And they're thinking, and obviously that made a lot of fans really concerned and upset. And since then, the Astros have written down reports, medical report actually, which they have reviewed it to be a positive encouragement. And I think ideally it's probably the fact that they're trying real hard just to make sure that, he doesn't do anything crazy. And, they're just trying to protect his hand, just managing the pain in his hand and everything. But clearly, Yordan Alvarez is a vital asset to this team. If he's not on the roster come the playoffs, that's going to be hard for Houston to try to get themselves in. I mean, last year, the Astros were obviously at their best, but unfortunately, they ran into a red-hot Detroit Tigers team, and Detroit, to their credit, swept them. Now it's gotten to the point where you wonder, can this Astros team really be a contender? I mean, right now they're proving that they can play with the best, especially given the circumstances. I mean, they may be the most well-run organization right now. And you have to tip your hand to, Jim Crane, the owner, and Dana Brown, the general manager, as well as Joe Espada, the manager. I mean, the way they're handling all this is tremendous. Now, certainly there are some things that could be improved upon, but the fact is, they're doing a really great job of keeping the Astros boat afloat, trying to heal the wounds until they can be fully strong. And it seems to be working to this stage. Is it going to be sustainable for the second half of the season? I don't know. That's why I feel like the Astros are going to need at least maybe another left-handed bat. They may need another reliever. Actually, they signed Hector Neris to a major league deal, and Hector Neris, who had been with the Astros in their championship in 22, is making his third return with the team. So I do think that the Stros are going to need some additions at the trade deadline. As far as I'm concerned, while I selfishly want to see them in the World Series again and win it so we can elevate our dynasty status, and yes, it's a dynasty, I think the best I see this Astros team could be the ALCS again. And that has become a bit of a tradition. It was canceled last year, but I think we probably needed that to happen. But I'm just having a hard time seeing this team get past Detroit. And then you look at some other teams. I mean, looking at what's happening in the American League East right now, Toronto is playing real well. These guys, they've won their last 8 straight games. They're probably the hottest team in all of baseball at this point. The last 8 games, Toronto is obviously playing well, but then you still have the Yankees and Tampa Bay, who are currently tied for second in that division. Boston's kind of a little bit of a mess, and unfortunately Baltimore is in the hole. And then, I mean, I feel like some of those teams could be big threats. I'm not counting out anybody in the American League Central, even though Detroit seems to have that division in a hammerlock, and if this continues on, they'll probably be the team that's going to be the first one to clinch the division. But I do think that somebody's going to get red hot, and I think that's the one thing that is very scary. You want to be playing your best baseball by the end of September and entering October. That's where I think the best teams find ways to win. And I know this because I've seen it happen on 2 occasions. 3 occasions, maybe. I've seen it happen in 2019 when We played the Washington Nationals, and I thought we were the better team on paper, but we didn't do it. We couldn't win a home game. We lost in 7 heartbreaking games. That's the one that's the painful one. I've seen it in 2021 when we played the Atlanta Braves. The Braves were a good team, and they were just red hot at that point. And if we had maybe a fully healthy staff, we might have beaten them. But the bottom line is they were just that good, and they beat us in 6 games. And sadly, I've seen it happen against Texas. The Rangers obviously were not supposed to be there, and I think if maybe the roles would have been reversed, we probably would have had more success. But Texas just got hot at the right time, and to their credit, they deserve to win it all. And that's the way you look at it. I mean, so it happens. I mean, the teams that get hot in September and October are usually the ones that find ways to win. I'm hoping that happens to the Astros, but I'm not 100% sure if I would bank on it just yet. They're going to need to make some moves. We're going to need to get everyone healthy, and we'll see. Come September and October, if we do make the playoffs, again, we have a 7-game lead on Seattle, and that is only a small chunk, even though things have not been, going well for them, although they did sweep the Pirates. It's going to be a very tough deal. It's going to be tough, but we'll have to wait and see what happens in the second half of the season. So those are just my thoughts on the Astros and their status as far as Major League royalty at this point for the year. Hoping that we can get a good second half going, but we'll wait and see. And folks, we're going to stick around. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some storylines to keep an eye out for the second half of the season. Stay tuned. So, we are about a week away from the All-Star Game and the start of the second half of this incredible 2025 season, which has been really interesting to this point. I mean, there's definitely a lot of questions that have yet to be answered, and we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. With that being said, let's get started. So, let's start off with who I think is having a really great season to this point, and that is Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. He's a catcher. And right now, when you look at Cal Raleigh's stats, he's hitting .268 with 74 RBIs and has 87 hits. However, he has 35 home runs. 35, which is 27 behind the American League record for most home runs in a single season. Of course, as we all know, that was done by Aaron Judge, with or without juice balls. But I'll leave Aaron Judge alone in that category. Now, Cal Raleigh, he's having himself a great season, but the fact that he's a catcher hitting all these home runs is just tremendous. The all-time record for most home runs hit by a catcher in a single season is Salvador Perez, who hit 48 back in 2021, which makes you wonder. I mean, obviously, you would think that Cal Raleigh is going to break the catcher record. But by the time he gets to 50 home runs, the question becomes, is it possible that Cal Raleigh could actually get to Aaron Judge territory and finish with 63? Now, that is going to be hard to say. Typically, I feel like when hitters get off to this tremendous start, there is a little bit of a low where they might go through a bit of a slump in that regard. I don't know if I can see Cal Raleigh finishing with 63 home runs because you have to consider the dog days of summer in August, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes close. If you think about all the times that players came close to breaking Babe Ruth's home run record of 60, and then Hank Greenberg did it in like 1939. He came within 2 home runs short. Mickey Mantle came close. Eventually, Roger Maris did break the record of 61, and then it would take another 37 years until Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa with their incredible 98 season. Of course, as we all know, that was with the steroid situation. But I don't know if I can see Cal Raleigh breaking 63 home runs, but I think if he gets to 50 by sometime in August. That could be a big storyline. So one of the storylines I think a lot of people will be wondering is, will he be able to get as close to breaking Aaron Judge's home run record in the American League? We'll have to wait and see on that. I mean, he won't get to 73. No one's going to catch Barry Bonds. I mean, unless they try to figure out a way to juice the baseballs and everything. But the bottom line is, Cal Raleigh, he might break the American League record, I feel, but I'm not sure if he can do that. But that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on for if we're going to want to see if he can break the record in the American League. Next up, can anybody in the American League beat out Tarik Skubal for the American League Cy Young Award? I mean, that's a very tough question because when you look at his season, he's got a 10-2 record, has a 2.02 ERA. The guy is just pitching lights out. He has been, without question, the best pitcher in all of baseball, I feel. 148 strikeouts. He's coming off a 10 strikeout performance, but, you know, he's had 23 strikeouts in his last 2 outings. Now, certainly, you look at all that he's done as of lately, he's never once had a strikeout game of fewer than 5 strikeouts. It's been 6 or higher ever since. And I think that's definitely bode well for him. And I would like to think that that's the primary reason why the Detroit Tigers are the best team in baseball. But you can't say that because it's more than just pitching. But without question, Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball. But sometimes you wonder about other candidates. Take a look at Garrett Crochet, for example, with the Boston Red Sox. The guy's got a 9-4 record. He's allowed 32 earned runs, has a 2.39 ERA. Now, one of the things that's kind of hurting him is that the Red Sox are not quite winning the games that they should be winning. But, I mean, take a look at his strikeout performances. June 24th against the Angels, he has 10 strikeouts. June 1st against the Braves, he struck out 12. Then in the previous start prior to that, he struck out 11 Milwaukee Brewers. He's only had one game since May 16th in which he struck out 5 batters or fewer. And that says a lot about him as a player, or as a pitcher. He's definitely having a great season, but the problem is the Red Sox aren't winning the games that they should be winning to keep themselves back in the American League East Division. Then you got Hunter Brown, who I believe has turned into the Houston Astros ace. He is right now the leader in the American League in ERA with a 1.82 ERA. Not only that, that's the lowest in all of baseball. That's like lower than Paul Skeens, who's got a 1.94. And I'll get to Paul Skeens in just a moment. But Hunter Brown really has been the ace of the Astros staff. I know most people will say, well, what about Framber Valdez? He started opening day. I mean, Framber is a great pitcher, don't get me wrong. But Hunter Brown has just been a tremendous pitcher. You know, I mean, I think one of the reasons why he doesn't quite get the Cy Young recognition, he has hardly had a double-digit strikeout game. The last time he had a double-digit strikeout game was against the Minnesota Twins. He had 12 strikeouts. But he's also had some games where he's only pitched exactly 5 innings. You know, 5 innings against the Reds on May 9th, 5 against the Rays on May 21st. And, you know, another 5 against the Angels. I mean, the pitch count is getting higher, but there's no question that Hunter Brown has managed to lower his ERA. I mean, the last start against the Rockies, he gave up 2 earned runs in 6 innings, but that's Coors Field. You're going to expect some kind of performance like that. It's a hard place to pitch because that's a hitter-friendly ballpark. But this season so far, Hunter Brown is 9-3 with 1 complete game, 21 earned runs, and, you know, 126 strikeouts. So he's definitely having a great season. I think that the best case scenario for Hunter Brown would be second in the American League in terms of Cy Young Award, but I could be wrong. And then let's not forget about Jacob deGrom, who is obviously a veteran, someone that's had his fair share of Cy Young Awards. He's 9-2, you know, 2.13 ERA with 100 strikeouts, but the sad part about it, the Rangers, you know, they're 11.5 or 10.5 back against for the Astros in the American League West. You know, I mean, I wouldn't count him out. I think deGrom is a tremendous pitcher, but I think part of the reason why, everyone's looking at Scooble as the overall favorite is the Tigers are winning. They're the best team in baseball, arguably, in the American League. And, I mean, you can't deny that he's been successful. So I think the question now is there going to be a pitcher not named Tarek Skubal that could have a strong second half to win the American League Cy Young Award? That's where I think it's going to be a real telltale scenario. Speaking of the American League, let's move to the American League East. In my opinion, the American League East is a mess. And when I say a mess, it's a jumbled pile. Like, I am surprised by this. Like, the West, there's clearly a team that's standing out in the Astros. The Central, there's a team clearly standing out in the Tigers. But right now in the American League East, there's really nobody that's standing out. And I think that's very surprising. Because we all thought it was going to be the New York Yankees at this point. The Yankees were the defending American League champions. Aaron Judge and company. And right now, things have not gone well for New York. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games. And they're currently 3 games back of the Toronto Blue Jays, who are 9-1 in the last 10 games. The Toronto Blue Jays. Like, nobody thought Toronto was going to be better. Like, everybody always thought Toronto was going to be a threat, but they never seemed to show up. And now all of a sudden they're in first place. George Springer is having a tremendous comeback season to this point. I mean, he seemed to have a career revival there, but my goodness gracious. I mean, Toronto is just, they're having themselves a great start. I mean, we talked a little bit about it in the last segment. I mean, the Yankees are tied with the Tampa Bay Rays for third place. The Red Sox are 6.5 games back of Toronto and only 3.5 back of the Yankees and Rays. And I don't know what in the world is going on with the Orioles. Like 40-49. Like, I thought the Orioles were going to be a very good team. Maybe the Texas Rangers did so much damage to them psychologically that it hasn't been the same for them. I mean, 2 years ago, the Orioles were the best team in baseball in the American League, arguably. They had the better record than the Astros. And Texas, to their credit, they swept them in a divisional series. So, yeah, I really am surprised that the Orioles are far back. Because I really thought the Orioles were going to be the next great team. It seemed like they were building towards something. And, yeah, it just hasn't worked out. But what I am curious to know is there going to be a challenge for the New York Yankees to the American League East? Are they going to win the division, or is it possible that somebody else, maybe Toronto or so, is going to take it? I don't know. That's a really good question. And I think the American League East will probably be the most exciting division in the American League to watch at this point. I'm not saying the West is a hammerlock. I'm not saying the West division is pretty much, locked and sealed. I think there's going to be some competition there, but I also know that, or think that the Astros are just playing so good at this stage, and we'll see what happens when they get healthy. And then, of course, the Tigers, they're up by 13.5 on second place. So I think the American League East will be the most exciting division to watch to see if there's a lot of pressure. But I'll say this, if the Yankees struggle, man, that's going to be a very bad look for a franchise that is potentially wasting the prime of Aaron Judge. You bring in all these superstar players to try to complement him, and he's still a great ball player, but it's not working out well. Like, if you can't get your superstars to get going in those pinstripes, you might be dealing with some changes. And it may not be Aaron Boone that could be fired. It might be Brian Cashman, the GM, that could be fired soon. And I don't know. Cashman has not been the same psychologically, which is really sad. Although I don't really care about that at the moment. But yeah, I think the American League East will definitely be something that we need to keep an eye out for. Now we go back to the National League, and we need to talk about Paul Skeens. Like, this is why I get so concerned with Paul Skeens. The Pittsburgh Pirates are not helping him out at this moment. Paul Skeens has starred in 19 games, but he's got a record of 4-7. And he has an ERA of 1.94, the lowest in all the National League. But the sad part is he's not getting the run support, and which is really unfortunate. I mean, in today's game, he struck out 10 Mariners in 5 innings allowed 5 hits, but I just worry that Paul Skeens could be someone that might be a candidate, like, that might be a potential player to get traded. Not this season, like he won't get traded after this season, or maybe after next season. But I just wonder, why would you have arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball right now and not get him run support? I just think the Pirates are not helping him. And I just wonder how long this is going to continue on. Is Paul Skeens going to continue to build his value up to where he could potentially be traded? Because I feel like Paul Skeens is a candidate, a Cy Young Award candidate every single season, but yet it's just not working out well. The Pirates aren't winning the games. They're 4-7 when he gets the wins, or when he pitches and has a record of that. I mean, Paul Skeens has already got to 295 career strikeouts this season, or in his career, 125 this season, and has a 1.94 ERA again. But it's just so sad. It's just really hard to think about it. I mean, Paul Skeens, I really hate to see a guy's career go to waste in a town, or in a place where there's no opportunity for him, for the Pirates to compete. And I feel like at some point, Skeens, if he continues to pitch like this, he's going to go to a bigger market. Now, I don't know where that's going to be. That may be in LA, that may be in New York, it may be in Chicago. I don't know. I mean, selfishly, I would like to see him in Houston, but I just don't think he's probably going to be a bit expensive for that area. So, but it's just so sad how a pitcher that you have confidence is knowing that you're going to win. But right now it's, Paul Skeens is going to pitch well, but the Pirates aren't going to score. So it's a 50-50. And I don't know if that's going to continue on. I think Paul Skeens is a pitcher that should be in line to possibly win 300 games of his career if he stays healthy, has great seasons like this, and go from there. But I just get so concerned and worried that Paul Skeens might not be able to, like if he stays in Pittsburgh, he might not be able to finish his career or his time there on a high note, and he might need to go elsewhere at some point. But there's still ways to go, but it's just really sad. Paul Skeens should be having a better record, but he's not getting the run support needed, and I think that's just really sad. Like, why would you, I mean, you can pitch and you can hold your opponents down, but one costly pitch on your end, it would be the deciding factor. I just worry that might take its toll on him at some point, but ultimately, I think Paul Skeens is a better pitcher than that, and we'll see if the Pirates can turn things around and go from there. So that's where I look at it as well. And finally, will the Red Sox regret trading Rafael Devers? I gotta tell you what, the second that the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman, you kind of had a feeling that this was going to be a little bit of a concern, because clearly Rafael Devers has been the Red Sox cornerstone at third base for a number of years, going back to their World Championship in 2018. But he's definitely been a big fixture and a big part of their success. But, the Red Sox continue to, not make their players happy. I mean, they lose some key players. They lose Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. And then, they lose another Chris Sale to the White Sox, and then who ultimately is now with the Braves at the moment. And now you trade Rafael Devers after you sign Alex Bregman. And right now, Bregman's an all-star, but the Red Sox, again, that same problem that they're dealing with at this moment. And I think right now what has happened is that the Red Sox, in my personal opinion, have made one of the dumbest trades, or one of the most potentially regrettable trades at this moment. And it's really sad, because Rafael Devers, unfortunately, was having a great season with Boston. I mean, prior to his trade, he was hitting .272 with 74 hits, and he drove in 58 RBIs, which isn't really, it was off to a great start, but it was definitely better than some of his other seasons, although, you talk about the 2018 year, he finished with 66 RBIs and 108 hits, but he was clearly, ever since that 2018 season where he batted .240, he was really progressing as a Red Sox hitter. He hit 311 in 2019, a 263 hitter in the shortened COVID season, 279 in 21, 295 in 22. I mean, in the last few seasons prior to this one, he was a 270 hitter, which he was still a big factor for the Red Sox, but they bring Alex Bregman along, and Bregman, let's be realistic here. I mean, he had a great start, but last time I checked, he was dealing with an injury, and now you just have to wonder, is this something that the Red Sox are going to regret trading? Well, so far, Rafael Devers has played 18 games with the Giants, and he's got 15 hits and 9 RBIs, but he's also struck out 26 batters. So it just makes you wonder if the Sox are going to actually regret trading Rafael Devers, or if that's not likely to happen. So I don't really know at this stage. I mean, it sounds like it's a bad trade. Like, if I was a Red Sox fan, I would feel really annoyed and really upset because for whatever reason, the Red Sox just can't seem to keep all the key players happy. And this is one of the highest payroll teams in all of baseball. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely feeling really bad at this stage. Like, it's just so confusing and so chaotic, but we'll have to wait and see there. Can the Red Sox be able to, put on, show that they didn't need Rafael Devers, or will Rafael Devers show that he needed the Red Sox and they needed him? Or will it be a situation where neither team wins? I mean, how many sports trades work out where nobody won? I mean, that's something that we'll have to keep an eye out for as well. So anyways, once again, my top 5 storylines to keep an eye out for the second half of the season. Can anyone beat Tarek Skubal for the American League Cy Young Award? Will Paul Skeens, be able to bounce back, get some wins, and get some run support for the Pirates? How will the American League East shape out? Because right now it's looking really confusing. Can Cal Raleigh break the American League home run record? And will the Red Sox regret trading Rafael Devers? So that's something that I think we would definitely need to keep an eye out for as well. But anyways, folks, that is going to do it for this edition of Krocking, Locking, and Dropping with the K-Rock. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys had yourself a really great week. A couple more things. First and foremost, as we all know, this is a podcast that is on Spotify, Podbean, and also I post on my YouTube channel, KWCLINE91. So, again, that's basically where you can go to listen to my subscribe. If you can't get through Podbean and Spotify, I also put it on my YouTube channel. You can go there as well. And then also, just continue to pray for the family members down in the Texas Hill Country. It's a really difficult time for them down there, but we just want to continue to be with them, to support them, pray for them, just showing that, we're thinking about them, and hopefully that they can find peace and comfort with no matter, what happens in the circumstances. We're hoping that they can find the ones that are missing, and hopefully some of them are alive. It's a really difficult time, but we just want to continue to pray for them and support them in this hard time. So that's going to do it here for this edition of Krocking, Locking, and Dropping with the K-Rock. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time for our 61st episode.